we seek to understand our conscious and physical connection to the universe. The ancient Hermetic principle of as above, so below reminds us that we and all creation are deeply connected like a holographic fractal. My passion and life work has been devoted to understanding the universe as a vibrating system with harmonic and musical proportions. My research points to our connectedness and consciousness as existing together simultaneously. As a professor of music, I recognize music to be a language of harmonic relationships. These same relationships are found throughout the universe within the forms of matter and the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Harmonic overtones are a prime example of the as-above principle, as is the cochlea of the human ear, which exhibits similar harmonic proportions. The 5 proportions embedded in the ear enable us to receive sound that the brain interprets as both sound and musical ratios. In this example of the so below principle, ratios are dividing the guitar string into smaller and smaller harmonic undertones. These Pythagorean ratios are found in most of the world's music systems, including Greece, Egypt, and China. Important universe geometries like the vector equilibrium show harmonics with 9:8 ratio for synergetics constant 2 and other harmonic ratios. And it's a fact that every one of these ratios are also utilized in universal physics formulas. Within musical scales, we see infinitely increasing harmonic progressions that match the circular extensions of universe geometries like the vector equilibrium and isotropic vector matrix. The Vitruvian Man shows us the infinite expanding scale of the squaring of the circle, circling of the square, cubing of the sphere, and sphering of the cube, and represents other important aspects of my harmonic mapping and the holographic fractal. Following the lead of Leonardo da Vinci, I map the electromagnetic spectrum harmonically. Expressed in powers of 10, it can be mapped on a single vertical or horizontal axis. The descending powers of 10 give us an octavized phi spiral with ratio 8/10, a musical minor sixth, and the ascending powers of 10 create an octavized 1/phi ratio or 5:1, an octavized musical major third. Regardless of the axis decimal being moved up or down, the underlying harmonic of the original number is still preserved. My initial investigation of the 3D flower of life revealed that it contained many ancient values of pi and phi. This led me to view the potential of this female form as the base of creation's harmonic coherence. The 64 tetrahedron grid, on the other hand, can be considered as the male form of the 3D flower of life. Both are based on the tetrahedron. Tetrahedrons give off a high 2 Hz frequency. This is interesting, as 2 is a musical reciprocal of itself, just the way the tetrahedron is a reciprocal of its own form, incorporating both overtones and undertones together. In looking for the truth and benefits in natural harmonics, we see that cymatics based on certain frequencies clearly show a geometric integrity, implying a higher order of form and sound. The notes in a keyboard demonstrate music of the spheres, or universal harmonics, and that they have natural overtones and undertones. This keyboard illustrates the 5th octave overtones. In early 1990, I developed a 3D harmonic model that allowed me to connect all the harmonic ratios I'd been studying. I call my model the ratio sphere. Its foundations come from music, math, number codes, geometry, and physics, and it applies to all the creation ratios I've ever seen. I confirm thousands of scientific data points with this model. At the heart of my design are natural overtones and undertones. At 23, I recognized an important piece of musical information about harmonics. I later found that J.S. Bach had been seeing the same thing, and we were working from the same overtone-undertone compositional understanding. Using my ratio sphere model, I was able to see 12 additional frequencies beyond the original 6 so-called solfeggios. They are all vortex math numbers and reduced to the 3, 6, and 9 that were important keys to Nikola Tesla's work. The next step in my investigation was to apply the alchemy of numbers where primes are key, including multiple factored primes, which enable infinite progressions and combinations of undertones and overtones. I view prime numbers as having discrete harmonic behaviors. It's almost as if they're guardians that dialogue within creation. Taking the first 3 primes, 2, 3, and 5, used in much of Earth's musical math, my base 2D ratio sphere lattice map shows how the harmonics in music and creation are organized to include overtones, undertones, and primes. Each note, number, or ratio has 6 harmonically related notes around it, with 3 pairs of inverses relating to the central fundamental. Any musical note, number, or ratio can be placed at the center. Because of the inclusive nature of my lattice mapping, which is loaded with pi, phi, and other harmonic expressions, I was able to cross-map to most physics constant formulas, including the diameter of the hydrogen molecule, to see if there was a harmonic order at the core of creation's expressions. To evolve to a 3D ratio sphere, I progressed through increasing axes, from my 2D ratio sphere, through the isotropic vector matrix, and then to an omnidirectional axis. The sphere is the only geometry that can encompass all the harmonic possibilities. My 3D ratio sphere model has an infinite harmonic and axis possibilities, which I believe creation consciously uses in its infinite arrangement within and across all things. In light, sound, color, and matter across the electromagnetic spectrum, I found that the harmonic principle within the ratio sphere is obeyed. I've taken my research into deep areas such as the examination of radiation within the cosmic microwave background, which shows harmonic coherence to the key fundamental principles. In geometry, Metatron's cube contains the musical and geometric harmonics of all the Platonic forms. It is a subset of the vector equilibrium and isotropic vector matrix and can map the distinct harmonics of these forms. In the Sri Yantra, creation is shown as a coherent geometry formed directly from sound. The Sri Yantra can be formed cymatically from the correct pronunciation of the syllable Om. Many temples in India are based on a 3D extension of the Sri Yantra, a demonstration of the ancient building code, form follows sound. Out of the center of the sphere, which the ancient mystics called the Bindu point, come all possibilities that radiate out as discrete harmonic combinations that combine to create each individual form. Today, we are beginning to think of this as a black hole, with researchers like Nassim Haramein leading the way. What does all this tell us? It is as our challenge to unveil the wisdom of the Creator's harmonic organization in the design of form and structure, how to adapt our own creations to this underlying principle, and discover how we are all part of and connected to the greater whole. The primordial harmonic interactions of all the integers at all points is a key factor in this discovery. They deliver a way to recognize ratios from micro to macro and to recognize the connections between all. It's been my absolute passion to find these connections in music and geometry operating across the universe, and to be able to look into the Creator's musical score. When we look deeply into nature, we see nature expressing these key mathematical patterns. Where science has confirmed that frequencies are efficiently and effectively received by living cells, this tells us that cells respond to harmonics. Pursuing that clue, I examined the harmonics of DNA nucleotides and found they indeed exhibited amazing musical relationships and have a predominance of notes around C sharp. This C sharp is also produced by the Earth's sidereal and tropical year, and I feel alongside the Schumann resonance, that is another musical harmonic we all relate to here on Earth. With hydrogen, a prime element and building block in our universe, I decided to investigate whether it too was also harmonically organized. Employing the relevance of color and light as frequencies, I chose to use hydrogen's unique emission spectrum frequencies to see if it showed a musical footprint. These elements of life pictured in the meteor are color-coded with wavelengths of harmonically organized colors. Even though humans only see one octave of color, like the rainbow, these colors are in specific ratios representing the needed balance in life. Our body's hydrogen element has a rainbow of colors, polarizing to red at sunrise, violet at sunset, and spinning around green 24/7. In hydrogen, I was awed to discover a 100% harmonic coherence that includes the ratios from 1/2 to 1/64, which are those found in the Eye of Horus binary fraction series, and inverse binary or octave ratio series. In 1990, my partner and I researched all the existing Giza pyramid measurements and found that the exact wavelengths of hydrogen were embedded in the pyramid's number code. Later, we were able to confirm that these measurements also exist within the ratio sphere. It was also revealed to me that hydrogen and helium, in their emission spectral lines, have musical harmonic links. Further mapping of the magnetic resonance frequencies of the elements led me to extend my review to include additional elements and discovered they also had musical harmonic coherence. The ancient alchemical symbol seen here represents the tetrahedron, the cube, and the sphere, which equates to vortex and volume and movement in space, time, and a boundary. My overall sense is the type of harmonic information may have a relevance for transmutation technologies or other technologies. My name for this type of understanding is ratio science. This picture shows us ratio science across the entire nuclear magnetic resonance table of elements, which are in an exact harmonic ratio of 5 to 6 to 10, a minor third and a major sixth and an octave musically. As with the hydrogen we saw earlier, water contains all the codes for creation, which can be released when lightning strikes water. The frequency of lightning striking water is a B-flat note that is a high octave of the square root of a certain value of pi. A single drop of water contains an entire harmonic universe and reflects a perfect memory of creation. The water molecule is harmonically organized and can be created from 3 wave numbers. When an object is dropped into water, the concentric rings that result expand out at the rate of the 4th root of pi, which is a musical 4th ratio. Everywhere we look, we see creation's harmonics at play. Things are not what they seem. Like the iceberg, where only 1/8 of the ice appears above the surface of the water. It is only by diving deeper that hidden harmonics are revealed. Conversely, moving out into the solar system, we see in the orbital distance and periods of the planets that they are in perfect integer ratios found in music, specifically the 5th octave overtones and undertones. This means there is an acoustic principal organization between planets. This is a perfect example of ratio science existing in our own solar system. After discovering these planetary harmonics, I studied the harmonics within a single planet and looked into the rings of Saturn using data provided by the NASA Ring Project lead. These rings reveal that their spin is in whole integer ratios of a particular value of phi and phi squared. I wondered if, in fact, there was a harmonic relationship existing between us, our solar system, and the planets, and whether these relationships are all part of a universal consciousness. Our human form has a harmonic design with a central vortex running through the heart, and harmonic phi relationships in all parts of the body from head to toe. Additional vortex math numbers are found in the sum of the 4 primary biological elements, where the total sums to 96.3% and reveals yet another key vortex math number, 963. I use the harmonics of the rings of Saturn as a perfect whole integer multiples of the golden mean, as a basis to see whether similar relationships were to be found in our own DNA. Our spine is harmonically designed to create the vortex movement of the spinal fluid and kundalini energy. The ancient Egyptian canon of proportions chose this intelligent musical design as the basis for their art and architecture, as fully revealed in the Egyptian temple of Luxor. The amazing Giza pyramid is a mirror of our own and Earth's harmonic ratio design. The pyramid contains measurements that decode the physics constants and our periodic table. It is a textbook in stone of the Earth and the cosmos. The entire Giza Plateau, pyramids, and Sphinx are all harmonically related through Pythagorean whole number triangles called triples. I consider the anagram of stones and tones to represent sonic architecture. Within the ratiosphere and King's chamber, we find the physical constant of hydrogen, ratio 37/27, as solidly depicted by the 37 blocks used on the south wall and 27 blocks on the north wall. Every block is a different size and carries a different harmonic content. Interestingly, I found the frequency of the coffer as a bell is formula 2/3 pi squared times 100, or 438.649 hertz. Are we simply rediscovering this incredible knowledge? Like a precisely tuned bell, modern tuning forks offer a delivery system for sound that ancient Egyptians depicted in their hieroglyphs. Some researchers have suggested that specific sound harmonics may be the science behind ancient technologies for levitation and stone cutting. My research team conducted experiments in which we levitated objects using frequencies from the Great Pyramid as well as desalinating salt water. Another ancient example of this type of deep harmonic knowledge exists at the famous sound healing temple of Saqqara that was built entirely on the code of form follows sound. The Saqqara acoustic chambers were tuned to the human brainwave frequencies, which shows that the Egyptians understood not only the power of sound, but how it affects our body and architecture. The bee, common in Egyptian hieroglyphics, represents knowledge of anti-gravity technology through sound. We found that some bees give off a 216 Hz frequency, a number that shows up all over the unified field and is related to our 432 Hz A note. A bee's body is not aerodynamically able to fly. Instead, bees are designed to fly using sound. The bee is believed to create an anti-gravity field using frequencies generated by its buzzing wings. The Egyptians appeared to be aware of this deeper sound knowledge. In the field of gravitational research, there is much discussion about black holes. One of the measured frequencies of a black hole is 3.17 times 10 to the minus 15 femtohertz, which is a B-flat note. Harmonically, its inverse is a D note that might represent a white hole. If the black hole represents as above, its inverse represents as below, but in inverse proportion. How gravity, space-time, and creation harmonics interact is a key topic of ongoing investigation. The Earth is now understood to be enveloped in a torus field, with the Earth itself being a sphere of matter dimpled at the polar caps. The dynamics between spheres of matter and torus fields are also on the leading edge of space-time research, pointing to future breakthroughs and potential technologies. It's clear that the universe offers us many tools throughout to enable advanced dialogues with everything. The future is ours to co-create together.